Hello learners, I am Dr. Tata Ramakrishna. I am from STRIDE, Staff Training and Research Institute of Distance Education. I am an assistant professor. We will study about the use of ICT, information and communication technologies for the persons or people with disabilities. In this session, the main focus will be to explain the concept of assistive technologies and special devices, to list and describe various special devices and their use for the people with disabilities in different fields of education, to explain the application of technologies to meet the needs of people, particularly those with disabilities, and to underline the impact of technological innovations on education in particular. These are the main objectives that we will cover in this video. Then straight away we can talk about the concept of development before starting the session. As we all know, the Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen and the concept of development we can briefly discuss about. The facilities and the services for the fulfillment of the basic needs, that is food, shelter, clothing, education, health, illiteracy, ignorance and unemployment. These are the things he talked about in terms of development. And under this concept of development, the persons with disabilities are mainly also covered under the broad umbrella term of development. Then when we talk about the overall development, definitely we are talking the upliftment of all sections and all groups in the society. Then we need to understand the disability and different categories as such. Yes, definitely in India, till 40 years after Indian independence, we did not have any Disability Act. For the first time in 1995, we had the Equal Opportunities Act, which covered a maximum 7 categories of disability. But recently, in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, 21 categories from the people of disabilities have been covered. If we see that, then physical disabilities, under which we can talk about the locomotor disabilities, then even under that also various subcategories we can think about and talk about. Then we can talk about the visual impairment. It refers to the blindness, then the partial blindness and such type of people who have mainly the problem with their vision. And the third main umbrella term we can talk about is the hearing empowerment. Being deaf has been identified separate parameters to define these concepts, which you can see from the PPT also. I am not talking detail about these categories. These definitions can be you will see from the PowerPoint slides also. Then speech and language disability. This is also one of the main disabilities which we can categorize or talk about. Then the intellectual disability, yes, this also describes the intellectual faculty, then reasoning, learning, problem solving and social and practical skills that involve specific learning disabilities also, which in turn include a lack in language processing, spoken or written, or mathematical calculations, and includes conditions as dyslexia and other conditions are included under this category. Then comes the mental behavior also. Under mental illness and other things also, many categories of disabilities are covered. Like this, we can talk about the other disabilities also. Impairment caused by the chronic neurological conditions like multiple sclerosis and other problems also cause disabilities. In this way, we can broadly discuss disability under 21 categories, we can say. And at the last, we can talk about the multiple disabilities in which we include one or more than one kind of disability. If a person has, then we say that is multiple disability. Okay, after knowing the different categories, then we can talk about what kind of education we can provide them, or how we can include them in the main academia or mainstream of education, and what are the models that we follow for the education of these kind of people. Starting from the very beginning, yes, focus has been given to impart them education in the best possible way, and we kept on regarding their education. Under that, we have mainly covered or followed different patterns of education, such as special education, then integrated education, inclusive education, vocational education, and distance and open education or online education as together. These are the different models which we have followed. Under special education, definitely the persons with disabilities study in a separate atmosphere, in separate schools and separate setups. But in integrated education, we try to integrate them into the main system partially, or twice a day, twice a week, or once in a month, or by weekly basis or fortnight basis. But in inclusive education, what we see is that both persons with disabilities and the normal children should be taught together, and the schools have to change themselves and the system has to change itself rather than the students. In open and distance and online mode, yes, definitely nowadays focus has been given to impart education to the persons with disabilities by using various technologies also. But under this, we have many barriers and gaps also. Under that, we can talk about the accessibility problems. When we talk about accessibility problems, it can be physical or material also. Now, because when the persons with disabilities try to attend any educational institutions, if they have to move physically, then the environment should be made disabled friendly, and all the structures or all the institutions, buildings and everything should be physically accessible. Like that, the material accessibility, when we talk about the material accessibility, it refers to the academic content and the kind of technologies or PPTs or whatever content in terms of the study materials we use, those should be accessible for all the persons with disabilities. Then problems related to the curriculum, teacher education and standardized testing policies. These are the barriers which may be related to the curriculum also and many other things. Then communication, then transportation and attitudinal problems, which are a big hindrance in the path of giving accessible education to the persons with disabilities. Then how we can now talk about the relevance of open and online education for the disabled. Then how it happens? Because in online education and open distance education, mainly we say that it is the mobility problems, because one can be given education by sitting at home at his or her place. Then flexible in terms of time and schedule. Yes, definitely online programs, online courses and open distance education programs are mainly can be adopted, can be done by one's own choice in terms of time and schedule also. Individualized and need based. Yes, as per our choice, as per our requirements, the students can take and opt the courses. Then technology oriented and more accessible also, and available at reasonable cost, which is also one of the prime aspects. The cost involvement or the kind of financial burden on the part of students also becomes less in online education. Then we can talk about the types of support services that we can provide these kind of students while providing education. This can broadly be when they need support services. They may be needing support services during their admission, then during for counseling also they may need support, then financial support they may need, then library services. Yes, definitely they will need accessible library services, then information services we can say, then during assessment and examinations. Then that means starting from the entry till their exit, they may need one or the other kind of support services. These all can be done through ICT and with the use of assistive or adaptive technologies. Then we can talk about the concept of assistive and special devices, which is the focus of today's this topic. Then definition of special device or assistive technology as such. Assistive technology or a device is defined as any item or piece of equipment or product system, whether acquired commercially of the shelf, modified or customized, that is used to increase, maintains or improves the functional capabilities of children with disabilities. Then we can say that universal design. These are the design of products and environments to be used by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adoption or specialized design. Then the principles of universal design we can talk about, because these can be equitable use. These should be made usable by all the people or possible. Then the flexibility in use should be ensured for all the persons. Then simple and intuitive. Whatever products, whatever technologies we produce, those should be simple and intuitive. Then perceptible information is also essential. Then like that, low physical effort, because one should be approaching or using these products with low physical affordability also. Similarly, there are 7 universal principles which can be adopted while designing the universal technologies. Then universal accessibility. Universal accessibility means making a device or product or website or building usable by the greatest number of people, irrespective of their language, gender, height or abilities, we can say. Similarly, when we talk about the technologies for the persons with hearing impairments, we talk about the captioning. The captioning can be closed or live speech. We all know that nowadays in all the television programs and other programs also, we get an option of captioning. If we switch on that, then definitely the display of the visual and the audio elements can be seen at the bottom of the screen. These kind of technologies will be helpful for the persons with hearing impairment. Similarly, hearing aids, then body worn eyeglasses, and in the ear, many technologies are available for the persons with hearing impairment. Then frequency modulated devices are also there. Then telecommunication devices we can talk for the persons with hearing impairment. Similarly, technologies for the persons with visual impairments, when we talk about the computer screen magnification, then descriptive video services. Yes, this is what we talk about, because as the persons with visual impairments cannot see, if they have to see any video, then those videos can be played, or the visuals can be explained in terms of audio, which they can hear and which they can access by switching on the descriptive video services. These are also technologies available. Then screen readers, then optical character recognition systems, then audio devices, yes, then braille translators, then braille embossers. Nowadays the text whichever we use in print, that can be printed as in braille also, and the braille note takers. Similarly, many technologies are available for the persons with visual impairments. Similarly, the technologies for the persons with severe physical disabilities are also available. We can talk about many kinds of switches, then infrared sensors with phonetic switches, then voice recognition systems are also there, and many devices are also available for the persons with physical disabilities. Alternative input devices, we can talk about the computers. Then computer technologies, when we talk about the on-screen touch screen keyboards, or assistive keyboards, or touch screen sensitive screen. These many things technologies are available for the persons with physical disabilities also. Then use of assistive technologies in instructional design, we can talk about the interactive radio counseling and the teleconferencing sessions. We can use these kind of technologies, and these interactive radio counseling and teleconferencing sessions can be conducted and will be very much useful for the persons with disabilities. Use of internet and web accessibility also we can talk about in terms of the ICT and their application of tools. Then the provision of study materials, when we say, then how ICT can be inbuilt in these things. E-text materials, yes, definitely e-text materials will be friendly with the screen reading software. Then large print and with large font size materials can be provided to the low vision students. Then e-text should be supplemented with audio visuals. Yes, definitely. Then the visuals should be supplemented with captioning. Importance should be given to the sign language interpretation, and along with graph, diagram, etc. can be included in the presentations also. Then if we can design these kind of materials, then definitely those will meet the requirements all kind of persons with disabilities, including visual, hearing, speech, language, and other kind of disabilities. Then what are the guidelines? We can see in brief that how these guidelines can be, through which guidelines these can be ensured in terms of universal accessibility of electronic and print study material by using the we can say that ICT. Okay, use of Unicode fonts should be given importance. Then use of complex words, then confusing jargons and legal terms and acronyms may be avoided. If we are using any acronyms, then definitely for the first time that the full form of the acronym should be discussed. And then maintain the simple reading order. We can say that avoid floating text and all these things we can take care of. Then we should not misuse of symbols. Yes, definitely we have to take care of. Then use of double quotes for quotation marks, because single quotes are best to be avoided unless they are very necessary. Then we can say that use of color, yes, that is also more important. Then avoid complex tables, because these all will create problems for the students with visual impairments and other kind of disabilities also. These things can be taken care of while using ICT. Then electronic digital format, when we talk about, the content must be prepared in EPUB 3.0 format that is available on the website also. If you visit to any website, you can find that if you search or if you look for EPUB 3, then everything will come on your screen, and you can see what are the things under that. All text must be available in a logical reading order. Then provide complete navigation facilities also should be there. Then create meaningful structure while possible. Then define the content of each tag also should be explained. Then use of we can say that images and other things. Then use image descriptions and alt text. Then include page numbers. These are the small things which can be taken care of, and the materials can be made disabled friendly. Then we can talk about the web pages, how web pages can be made more accessible. Web pages, then mobile apps, or the W3C guidelines, and the government of India also has given some guidelines to be followed for making these apps or websites disabled friendly. Then the digital products to conform to WCAG 2.0 minimum level, that is AA, has to be followed to make these kind of materials accessible. Then we can talk about the library services, how we can use ICT to make library services also disabled friendly. Then provision of equal opportunities along with their other counterparts in the libraries is also must. Then physical accessibility should be given utmost priority. Then accessible media formats should be used for the persons with disabilities. Human support, yes, definitely this is needed. And then the adequate of the training facilities for the staff and other personnel involved for providing services. Then user friendly schemes, yes, definitely are needed. Special services and use of assistive technologies and special devices for the students or persons with disabilities. Then when we talk about the assurance of accessible websites, then support mechanism also should be provided to the persons with disabilities by following the different guidelines which are available through Indian government guidelines or W3C guidelines we can follow. Then support mechanisms during the assessment. How during assessment we can ensure the persons with disabilities a kind of accessibility by using ICT. During assignments, yes, different formats should be allowed to submit, and they can use audio or handwritten or any format they like. Yes, they should be allowed. Then during practical and laboratory work also, different assistive technologies and devices are available which can be used for them to give them proper access and proper experience also. Then during field work also, they should be given assistance. During examinations, they can be given chance to appear either through computer technologies or through the audio formats, dictation format, or any formats they like. They should be allowed to appear the examinations with the use of assistive technologies. Then support mechanisms during the assessment. Assessment, this should widely be publicized and made easy for students to follow. Then operate with minimum delay. Then allow flexibility in the conduct of the assessment is also needed. Then it should protect the rigorousness and comparability of the assessment, because in terms of giving them accessibility, that doesn't mean that we will compromise with the quality and the academic validity of the programs, but we have to provide them the accessible environment. It should be applied consistently all across the institution, we can say. These are the things we can follow during the assessment. How? During the examinations, as I said also, flexibility in the balance between assessed coursework and examinations should be ensured. Then demonstration of achievement in alternative ways, as I said, such as through signed presentations or viva voice examinations, or additional time allowances, time break or rest breaks we can provide, and rescheduling of examinations also can be done. The use of computer amanuenses, readers and other support in examinations can be also followed. Then when we talk about the inclusion of education, then definitely it involves that valuing all students equally. Inclusive delivery methods should be followed. Then viewing students as resources to support rather than the problems to overcome, because we should not see persons with disabilities as problems, rather we should see them as resources. Then developing more student friendly or student centered approaches should be followed by all institutions by including various kinds of assistive technologies. Inclusion of disability issues in all training programs and use of appropriate ICT should be ensured. Then imparting value oriented education is also must. Then assurance of accessibility, when we talk about, we generally say that this should meet and discuss the disability related issues in the beginning, so that the institutions can think about and adopt different assistive technologies and accommodations they need to do any courses or programs. Similarly, the physical access and safety of all students should be ensured. Then even accessible and flexible delivery methods by using these technologies or devices can be ensured. Provision of study materials, as I said in the beginning, also in alternative formats will meet and solve this problem to a large extent. And with this, at the end, we can say that while designing the curriculum, we should take care of the special needs and should think about the various assistive measures that can give them better opportunities in terms of education and in terms of getting quality education, we can say. And we should create willingness in the community to work for the persons with disabilities overall, we can say. And in today's education, with the use of assistive technologies and special devices designed all over the world for the persons with disabilities, definitely they can get a quality education at par with their normal counterparts. That's why we let us say that let people to know that the doors of all educational institutions are open for everyone in the community. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and you can see more assistive technologies, more devices and more such videos on the website for your references also. Thank you. Thank you a lot.